Okay, everybody, and welcome to another Sunday get-together. We call this our Veganville and Vegan Group Hangouts for a Sunday Zoom. So appreciate your spending some time with us on this evening. Some of us have eaten already. Some of us will be eating as we proceed with the meeting, and others will eat afterwards. I think that's me tonight. So I hope everybody enjoys. Bon appetit, whatever you decide to eat tonight. We have a fun program. A little agenda. We'll discuss some suggestions in the future. If you have, is to check out your, come early. If you have any problems with your technology, we can help you out as we did before. It sometimes helps to reboot your computer, your Windows or Mac computer before you log on with Zoom. That generally helps a lot of things, so you don't have any problems with configuring and any hiccups. That alleviates a lot of problems. We're going to ask any of the newbies to introduce themselves. Some of us that are regulars, stand by. We can make some short presentations, of course. And we're going to discuss some of the Hangout rules, which is a work in progress we discussed over the weekend and we'd like to present to you. We have an affirmation, EarthSave, Earthwise affirmation presented by our own vegan man. Reggie, the juice man's going to say a few words. We have an intermission coming up. We have a show and tell with Chef Estella and a recipe. What's on your plate? Jamie and Ann. We have Jeff's Peas in a Pod blog. And we have a short video and lots more. So without further ado, welcome. It's another Sunday. I see you got your earthy hat on, vegan man. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Well, by the way, this is a big hat. This is Earthy's big hat. Estella's got his little hat on. I feel like a gnome. You know what those gnomes? So I'm vegan man, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that I don't have to wait for the full moon to come out. I really do hope that any of them who show up do have decent deodorants on, because man, you stay on the ground for a couple of months or years, and boy, you need a good vegan deodorant. That's all I've got.
Professor and Chef Estella.
Yes, hi everybody. I am Chef Estella. I am very excited. This is when we're going to start a special week of fun, the best time of the year. So that's why that I'm wearing today a special hat that are Linda Blissberger. She's the artist who made this beautiful hat for Vegan Man and for the organization, and I want to thank her. So I'm very happy, and then I will show you a special recipe that I created for children. So prepare who's going to be on Halloween knocking on your door, but sometime you can go to the children's in your neighborhood. Thank you.
Thanks, Chef Estella. Anybody else have any creative or vegan words of wisdom they'd like to share with us today?
Well, I can.
Sure, Suzanne, go right ahead.
So just, Jeffrey, I have vegan dogs. I went vegan with the dogs vegan. I was trying to figure out the timeline. Must be 10 or 12 years ago. I had a dog that was very, very sick. So she was incontinent on medication, and the medication stopped the incontinence, but made her so sick. And then one day I was ready to give her the medication. I pick up the bottle, and this dog just broke down, and I just couldn't do it. I just could not do it. I decided from now on, she can pee whenever, wherever. I cannot torture her. But then I went back to nutrition and I started different dog foods. And eventually I found a vegetarian dog food, which is actually vegan, I'm told. And I started feeding her that food. And 6 weeks later, she stopped being incontinent and never had a problem again. And ever since, all my dogs are on vegan dog foods. And I don't stick with one brand. I just, every time the sack is gone, I have a different brand. So I keep rotating. And none of my vets ever liked it. However, they all kind of, we have the same vets. We have two vets. Realize that all these dogs on the vegan dog food are living forever. And so there must be something good about it. And they also not just have the vegan dog food, they also have the greens. They love the stems of the kale. They eat almost all fruit. And we had an unlucky streak this year because out of 4 seniors, 3 died of old age. But they made it to their conditions, all rescues. They became quite old. And so we shrank from 5 to 3 to 2. But again, every time the vet was very surprised that the particular dog made it that long. And I think it too is vegan nutrition. Also follow the discussion about is a dog a carnivore or an omnivore? And after many, many years of reading up on it and listening to the discussions, I finally learned that dogs are functional carnivores, which means they are evolving into omnivores. It may take another 10,000 years, but they do have the enzyme that breaks down the carbohydrates, what a true carnivore does not have. And so they can actually digest carbohydrates to a degree. So I'm not feeling bad about it. And with all these years of doing this, I think we are doing pretty good.
Yay.
So that was my contribution for today.
Have you ever seen a dog go into the garden and feast on kale right in the ground, or string beans, or other
Tomatoes. I used to have a pit bull who really had a taste for the little grape tomatoes, and she would pick them with the front teeth right off the bush and eat them. This big one that you saw earlier, I have her a year now. So she came in a not so good condition. And I would say the last 2 months, she's really turning into a dog from I'm invisible. And also wants her share now of veggies. And I have a feeling in another year, she goes in the garden and picks her stuff.
It's a wake-up call when you
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah. It's really great to watch. But yeah, I can see that the little white one, he will eat everything that you hand him, but not pick. But the big ones just are different. Somehow, the bigger the brain, I think, the more they put things together. So, well, I say that because I had a 250-pound dog with a really big head, and he actually watched TV and understood what was going on.
250 pounds?
Horsey, yeah.
It was a dog?
Yes.
Are you sure it wasn't a little horse? Come on.
Yeah, the first time I saw him, I thought he was a pony. Well,
Is it a Great Dane?
What breed was it?
no, he was an English Mastiff, and a big one, and a rescue too. So when I came home, my daughter had dropped him off, and I opened the door, and this horse is standing in the living room barking at me.
Wow.
Ah,
So, yep,
surprise.
it's huge. In the end, I had to use a patient lift because I couldn't pick him up, and so I could help him. But yep, there are always ways to work around limits.
How would they do on just fresh vegetables and not canned dog food?
Fresh. They do like canned beans. I mean, they eat canned, they eat frozen, thawed, frozen, they eat cooked, they eat raw. I prefer like I'm sparse with carrots because of the natural sugar, but those I will cook a little bit to break the cells so they can digest a carrot better. I mean, I see it on the other end how well it works. So I think forever I check the poop of the dogs, and so that tells me a lot about how healthy they are.
You know that I had a dog and she was sick. This is 25 years ago or more. I was a vegetarian back then. And I was speaking to the veterinarian at the horse place, the Oak Feed store. And I gave her one tiny spoon, like a half a teaspoon of seaweed that they give to horses.
Mm-hmm.
The next day, I saw her leap into the air, which she had never ever done before, just out of exuberance. And just think, I mean, we eat seaweed. We're lucky we can get seaweed, and we know enough to supplement our terrestrial with our seafoods. But there are some minerals in there that a dog may never get in their whole life, some necessary that happen to be in the ocean. So try that if you have a dog. Slip them some good seaweed once.
Is that like those sheet seaweed?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. The seaweed picks up nutrients that are in the ocean and no longer on land in many places.
Mm-hmm.
So
We can try that. I have it in the cupboard.
get a little spoonful and just,
We do that at the break. I'm curious.
let's see if she starts talking or doing math after the break.
Okay.
Thanks, Suzanne. Thank you very much. I have a dog and it was very interesting. We'll talk during the break. Anybody else like to share some information for today's meeting? Okay, we can proceed.
Discuss.
Who did I hear? Yes, Jeff.
So I'd like to deputize or to activate everybody in the meeting. We are not the guests that we might have in a year or two or in months ahead when we have a meeting and we have people who are tuning in as viewers. I'm looking at us as doers and beers and teachers and exemplars. So I want to bring up something that we need a group think. And we need a group think about some of the rules of this event. Let me tell you, we always like feedback, and I recommend it as a good key to survival for any organization or person in a relationship. So if you encourage feedback, then you might get more of it. And the more you get, the more likely you are to succeed. We happened to get some feedback from someone a week or two ago. They were on the meeting. They hung in there for about 20, 25 minutes, and then they both left. And they wrote us a letter afterwards and said, you know, it means a lot to us to have vegan content and the education, the sharing, the information and so on, but we just couldn't take it. We couldn't sit there and listen to some people chatting like offline. But if you think back, was it last week, Stu?
It was last week. It was before we officially started the meeting, actually. So.
And so, you know, I'd really like to kick this subject out to everybody. And the idea is, are we a structured meeting? Do we have some rules that are really necessary? And how do we deal with that situation? So I'll just repeat the situation. People are sitting here, and we're not officially in. Some people are getting help, technical information about their situation. And two people are sitting there waiting for something real. And they log out. Bye. So we had some people just chatting. What should we do about that? Would anyone raise their hand and comment?
How is it? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead, Suzanne.
How is the I was just trying to figure the information, because it says 5:15 login and I think it says 5:30 start of meeting. Maybe the login or the start of meeting 5:30 needs to be bigger, because I like the 15 minutes for miscellaneous.
Right.
And then a person can just decide to log in at 5:30 or 5:28.
Yeah, you can just say that it officially starts at 5:30 and we're getting whatever technical, so our official startup is at this time, period. I mean, what can we do?
It doesn't say it. It says 5:15. So
That's it.
maybe it says 5:15 to 7:30. So maybe that needs to be pointed out.
Good idea.
So what is the consensus about having a 30-minute preliminary? We'll call it like a waiting room, where we're welcoming people in. Because when do you start a meeting? When you have a quorum? And how many is a quorum? Who's got a comment?
Well, I would, Jamie, you were there last week, I believe. And Reggie, you weren't there last week. Linda was there. Basically, what I just want to say, for what it's worth, is that because last week we had a very small group, just happened to be that way, I extended the time that we were socializing, networking, schmoozing, whatever you want to call it, getting people organized with their technology. And I believe maybe the person that brought it to our attention, was frustrated or annoyed, whatever, I don't know, however they felt. They're entitled to the way they felt. And I didn't start the meeting on time. When I started, we record the meeting. The meeting is being recorded and then it is being posted on our Veganville TV YouTube channel. So we did not start on time last week. So all of that, of us talking in an unstructured way, was really a social event and some technology. Yes, Jeff? Yes, Linda?
I think we need, well, aren't we entitled to have a little social get together? Maybe you want to say from 5:15 to 5:30, whatever it is, social chit chat, 5:30 official program begins.
Yeah,
And do it like that. Just, I mean, it's nice to chit chat.
yeah.
I miss it.
Mhm.
I will say one thing which is interesting, and you can analyze every situation in life. The person's motive were pure. It was with all good intent. They also said in the email that they could have been somewhere else. Now I know we value our time, we value your time, we appreciate your time joining us today, and maybe because that did not meet this person's needs in the time that they spent with us, because there was more than the anticipated amount of socializing. It was not as structured as it should be. So Jeff is asking, I'm encouraging anybody that wants to give that. We can extend the socializing if there's a consensus, and we can change that as time goes on, or we can start on a specific time regardless of how many people happen to be for that week. Is that sort of understood where I'm coming from and where the other person might have been coming from? Because they really enjoyed our previous meetings, so they were commenting on last week's event. And when I officially started the meeting, welcome to EarthSave, and I recorded it, that was not included. So all of that time may have been wasted for the individual that wanted some content from EarthSave. You understand what she was thinking? So that's what it was. So we hope to give you good content. We appreciate any feedback that you give us. And if you want to extend the socializing, then we can say, maybe make it a half hour of socializing, and people can come in without socializing and come in a half hour later. Does that sound interesting? Any thoughts from anyone? Reggie, Suzanne, Lori?
It sounds good. I don't think she was taking into consideration this is a relatively new format and it goes through a period of adjustment. Everyone's adjusting to Zoom and how they're conducting their meetings.
Yes.
So it is a new format and it takes a while to, present all the content in a way. You all know each other and you've been socializing. So it takes time to do that.
Yeah.
For example, Linda says, I like this social chit-chatting. So this is something also that probably we can put it within a certain framework. Some people don't like that, and they just want a program. So it depends on the person needs, but it's good to have a feedback. We want to be able to reach everybody. Sometimes we won't be able to help people with so many different needs, but it's good to know. And Linda already expressed it that she liked this social chit chat.
You could say,
Within a certain form, then we can have that, So now is we're going to chit chat and socially, so now we're going with the program to leave a time. Let's say it doesn't have to be at the beginning. Probably, I don't think that at the beginning won't be good. So for people to say, well, I come here and I want to see something happening, but thank you, Linda, for that. And I think that is also good, that part of the social interaction that everybody can.
this is always a happening.
Yeah.
Any program we've had, any Zoom is a happening. You never know who's going to be there, what's going to be said. So interesting about your dogs. I mean, this is fabulous. So far, it's fabulous. So go with the flow. That's what I like.
Exactly.
Again, I can empathize with her feelings from last week by, if she was limited on her time frame, then obviously it did not meet her needs because there was too much of socializing, and she chose not to be interested in all that. It wasn't valuable to her. So I understand where she's coming from, and maybe we can do the socializing during the intermission, which,
That's a good idea.
and then you can talk, on camera. Yeah, I mean, we can pause and you can talk and do that if that's what the consensus happens to be.
Yes.
Any other?
That is. Yes.
Any other comments, Jeff?
What if we have a 15-minute intermission?
Yeah, that's an idea. And people can go take a restroom break. They can get themselves a drink or, refresh their, their beverages or their meal, whatever they need to do. So we can work on that.
Yes, and then that will be the time for chit chatting. Yes.
Yeah, like Lori said, it's a work in progress. Thank you for those comments.
Yes.
Well, one second. Can I get an action item, like a motion on the table? Because if we're going to keep it as a 15-minute, let's call it a waiting room, all right? A preliminary. So do we want to keep 15 minutes and then make it a rule that we start at 5:30, regardless of how many people, regardless of someone thinking,
Yes.
well, maybe I want to go and reset my Zoom. I'm thinking that it might be beneficial. The structure, in this case, we can kind of gear ourselves to a structure that as we get used to it. But if it's always loose and flexible, you really don't know what to expect. So I'm floating this idea that we start on time, whether it's 5:30 or 5:45, and then anyone can count on that. You can set your watch by it.
Yes,
that's-
I agree with that. Yes, to start
Right.
just on
It
time.
always
And
takes a
then
few
to-
minutes, like the microphone with the earbuds, we have to leave a few minutes for that. So
Exactly.
people log in a few minutes early and then we start the program and then chit chat later.
Yeah.
But of all the programs we've had, nobody else has said anything.
Yeah.
They've been totally filled with such wonderful information and lively discussions. I think we're doing something right. I know we are.
I mean,
Yes.
Give us a break.
if in the past you went to a Broadway show, which is shut down right now, and a lot of people are unhappy with that. I mean, sometimes the play has to be delayed because of some technical reason, and you have to just sit in your chair and talk with people you don't know or people you came with. So you have to be a little flexible, but I understand everybody's time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending whatever time you do with us. And we welcome your comments and feedback all the time, right, Jeff?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I'd like to sort of create a suggestion box and even go beyond strong feelings to ideas, suggestions. We got an email, we got a phone number there. I'm going to put them in the chat window. Just if you are using the chat window, would you raise your hand?
I look at it.
You look at it. Reggie, no?
Can everybody see the chat?
Jamie,
You
do
can
you
write
use chat?
something on the chat also.
Okay. So most of us are using chat, and I like that because I think we can deliver information without a lot of extra talk. So I'm going to put our basic information into the chat now, just in case you need it at some point during the meeting. You could copy it, blah, blah, blah.
Another thing that I can think of, as people are getting more acclimated to using the Zoom technology, their computers, and how it interacts with the microphone and with the speakers and with the video and all these technical aspects, it's preferable if everybody's up and running beforehand. But if somebody has a technical issue, Jeff and I were discussing, maybe we can have a designated person that may be on with us, and I can create a breakout room, and the person can go to the breakout room with the person that's the technical person, and they can help fix the problem for that person. Then they can join the main meeting. So that's something that doesn't have to interfere with everybody. So that's a good idea.
Good idea.
Do we have any volunteers for that technical job? I mean, it could be two people who have that. Reggie, are you able to do that on call?
I'm not sure if I'm trying to make all the meetings. I missed the one last time, so I've been busy. I have family in town, so I'm not sure if I can make every meeting. So
Not necessary, but when you're here,
yeah.
could you stand in as a tech advisor to someone who's?
Oh, sure. That's no problem. When I'm
Yeah,
here,
if
yes.
you're online, yeah. I'll
Sure.
create a breakout room, and you and the person will go in there, and you can help them work out their
Okay.
all that.
Sure.
That would be great. Thank you. Awesome. Okay. Any other comments about that? So again, we welcome your suggestions. All right. If there's nothing else on that topic, Jeff, I want to introduce your presentation on the Earthwise affirmation.
Okay. Well, here's where we get into some deeper water. And it's great. It's nice, refreshing out there in the deep water. We always had some version of an earth prayer at EarthSave meetings starting in 1996. Does anyone know exactly what I'm talking about? Okay.
No, really, no.
So we are together. We're joined by an incredible set of values, ethics, and these vegan values often have a spiritual component, psychological component, intellectual, and even religious. So we used to have someone basically lead a moment of silence, an acknowledgement, or an affirmation. And with your permission, I'd like to make that part of the meetings. It always impressed me how many different variations there are of giving thanks, acknowledging, blessing, praising, and so forth, honoring. All the indigenous traditions have it, religions have it, and we always had it. So I'll suggest one where we say, let's have a moment of silent acknowledgement or a moment of silent appreciation for the food. After all, this is officially a dinner event. I don't see anyone else chewing, but I'm going to persist until this bowl of berries is empty. That's my dinner. And I do invite you all to make this a dinner event. Here's another dinner diner.
There is Jamie. Jamie showing the food, yes.
And it also makes for a very good sharing of information. You know, as Estella is going to do a recipe, but Jamie is going to talk about food. Reggie's going to be talking about food. Food is a great topic, but the reflective part is like this. Let's give thanks for this wonderful food, nutrifying our bodies tonight, and considering all the people that participated to bring this food to our lips. The farmers who grew it, the truckers who transported it, the processors who bagged it, packaged it, handled it. And you can imagine what this chain is like, how it stretches around the world. And so becoming cognizant of that is part of mindfulness. And I would like to recognize, appreciate the roles of so many people in nourishing me and sustaining me so that I can live another day. Let me call for a brief moment of silence, contemplation. Thank you. I invite everybody to think of various other affirmations that we can do in the weeks ahead. And we can do one or two at every meeting. What I have found is that if you say a particular prayer, if it's a Jewish prayer, a Catholic prayer, a Buddhist prayer, there often is somebody in the room who says, "No, I don't like that. I'm not a Buddhist. I don't want to hear a Buddhist prayer." Okay, well, so if you can be creative and come up with something for a future meeting that is meaningful to you, it'll always be welcome here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You know, we all take for, not we all, but many people take for granted, you know, where the food comes from and the many blessings on what it takes to the people involved in getting the food to our table, you know, unless you're your own farmer, which is a good thing to be if that's the case. Okay, we're going to move right along. Reggie, would you care to say some things, share some vegan information, plant-based information to our group?
Yeah, I someone was talking about soap or something like that, and I just remembered my family, I guess, owned a gas station from 30 years ago, and if you had so many gallons, they used to give away a glass and a bar of soap, and I teach raw living chlorophyll from nature, sun energy, living. I think that's the way to really get nutrition in your body from the leaves, raw leaves, and juicing it properly. But I have a bar of soap here. It's called Colgate's Peter Pan. Here, let me show it to you.
Colgate.
And it's got chlorophyll in it. The bar's got to be about 50 years old.
Oh, wow.
And it's made with chlorophyll. So that's something I push. So it's just funny that it's a green bar of soap. It says it's a beauty bar. So what's interesting about living food or living minerals, living earth, living nature, it's amazing how it brings people back to life, prolongs your life. It reduces suffering, because I see unnecessary suffering in all of nature. And it's heartbreaking, the fear and the suffering, and it seems to motivate people to make poor decisions. And it's nice that veganism is a great way to start to get your mind, your body, your soul back into alignment to live a happier, fulfilled, long life.
Very good. Very good. Okay.
Reggie, could we designate you as Chlorophyll Man?
Sure, why not?
From now on, that's it.
Is there a story behind that bar that you saved all those years?
It's a family. We used to have boxes of this growing up.
Oh, really?
And there was a glass they gave away if you bought so many gallons of fuel back then. So, but I have a different perspective on nature. I'm more, no fossil fuels, stop hurting the earth, digging holes, fracking, all that stuff. I'm kind of different mentality now. And I want to go with the route of Jamie, where he's going, I want to sell all my stuff and kind of get back to the simplicities of living in nature and having all the complications of work and everything. So
way better.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Sure.
Okay, Jamie, not to interrupt your dinner with Anne, would you care to show us that fruit or share with us what you're
I will. Yeah. It's called durian. And so
Durian.
Durian.
Yeah, I learned about that from Jamie and Anne. It's a fruit of the several tree species belonging to the genus Durio. There are 30 recognized Durio species, at least 9 of which produce edible fruit, with over 300 named varieties in Thailand, where Jamie and Ann mentioned, and also in Malaysia. So you're going to tell us more about that?
Yep. This is the durian. Half of the world's durian is grown in Thailand, and about half of that is grown in Chanthaburi province. But this is the Montong variety, which is a common commercial one, and they ship them to the U.S. frozen. And so, but that's the durian. These spikes are actually very sharp, but these aren't too sharp because with shipping they get kind of banged around. They come in like a netting type bag. But so that's the durian. So when they're fresh in Thailand, like when I was there last year, you got to be real careful opening them because they're sharp. But basically, you try to find a seam where it's kind of bulging out. And this one I already opened. And then, so you find that seam and then you open it up. The seam will kind of split down, like that. And then you open it up. And then what you get is when you open it, is you get this. So, and it's a custardy type fruit. And it's about 30% fat. So a Haas avocado is about 70%. So it's not as creamy as that, but it's a creamy fruit and they're really good. It's sometimes known as the stinky fruit because it has an odor that some people don't find pleasant. And so, but the fruit tastes really good. So when you're in Thailand, you'll see a lot of the signs, the red circle with the line, and you can't take durians into hotel rooms or on the subway or anything like that because they smell so bad. And this one is not too big. They come in different sizes depending on the variety, and some are much bigger. But yeah, when I was in Thailand last year on the retreat, the active days of the retreat, we had 12 active days, and 11 of those days we ate a lot of durian at lunchtime every day. Durian is known as the king of fruit, and then the mangosteen, also from Thailand, is known as the queen of fruit. So we would eat a whole bunch of mangosteens, and then we would eat durian. And so here you can get it in the Asian market. It's a little expensive here, but for a treat once in a while, it's really
So
good.
how sweet is this? How sweet is this?
They're usually sweet. It's not like super sweet, but it's a sweeter fruit, but it's not super sweet, but it's definitely a sweet fruit, especially if it's a good one. Sometimes they're not as good as others. This one turned out to be a really good one.
Does it ripen with age, or does it stay the same?
Once it's picked, I don't think it ripens anymore once it's picked. It may be a little bit, but the best ones to get are when I was in Thailand, and the stem has like a section on it that's swollen like a knuckle. And when the tree says, okay, you're ripe enough, it separates there and it falls to the ground. And that's called tree dropped durian. And then the farmers just pick it up in the morning and then they sell it. Those are the best. But a lot of times they cut them and then they put a ripening hormone on the stem and then they ship them. So probably these are cut, but when you're in Thailand, you can get fresh durian tree dropped, and that's by far the best you want to get is tree dropped durian. So I think they ripen a little bit after cutting, but not a whole lot. But when they're frozen, so when you buy them here, they've been frozen and you're going to defrost them, so they're pretty much ready to go as soon as you get them. If you buy them here.
There are
What are you
no
eating that?
Is what?
What else are you eating that with on your table? I see other food.
Oh yeah, because that was our appetizer. So
Oh, okay.
so what we have now here is let's see, we've got the pad thai. Well, okay, this is pad thai.
Uh-huh.
That's leftover from last night, but
Yum, that looks good. Okay.
we have these fresh mung bean sprouts.
Okay, yeah.
We're sprouting our own. It's really easy with mung beans, and those are delicious. But in the pad thai this is Anne, and you can maybe say what's What are the secret ingredients in the pad thai?
Okay. In the pad thai, I use a rice noodle, and then I make a pad thai sauce, just made from tamarind paste.
Could you speak louder?
Oh, okay. So you can help me.
I
to
can help
speak
you.
louder.
She's not a loud speaker. So let me move the computer closer to her. So,
Okay, that's okay.
and then it'll pick it up better.
Okay.
There we go.
Okay, the ingredient of pad thai have rice noodle. I use the small one, and then some tofu and shiitake, dry shiitake mushroom, and then tofu skin.
Mm.
And then for the pad thai sauce is tamarind paste, palm sugar, and soy sauce. That's just 3 things that I put for my pad thai sauce. So, and then, okay, and then
The mushroom thing.
mushroom. This is the mushroom satay. I don't know what kind of mushroom is.
These weren't
they
these
call
trumpet
big one.
mushrooms?
Yeah.
They're trumpet mushrooms.
Mm-hmm. And I marinated and then put in many things in a ingredient. So it's Thai herb. So, and then some sauce go with that. This is a kind of like peanut butter sauce with all the Thai herb and coconut milk. So
It's really good.
Yeah.
So what are the ingredients in the pad thai sauce?
all ingredient.
Yes, the pad thai sauce.
And
Yeah.
Thai sauce is only 3 ingredients. So tamarind paste and palm sugar and soy sauce. Or you can use amino, what's it?
Liquid amino.
Bragg's amino.
Yeah, amino
Which
liquid.
is the first ingredient that you said? Which is the first ingredient?
Tamarind paste.
Or tamarind paste.
Tamarind paste.
Yes. Okay, that is difficult to get. Where do you get
Oh,
that?
you can get at Asian market.
In Asian market. And the rice noodle, do you get them there also in the Asian market?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
I want to mention one other thing. The farmers in the durian farms, they all wear helmets because those things are pointy and heavy.
They're very sharp. So yeah, they do wear helmets. And when we went to the biggest durian market in the world in Chantaburi, and they load them on trucks and they bring them all over Thailand. So they have these mitts that are kind of like, they're thicker than a baseball mitt.
Wow.
The guys are throwing them to each other and they catch them in these big mitts because when they're fresh over there, those spikes are super sharp, like needles. And they'll load up the pickup trucks that have a cage in there, and they'll fill this thing up with durian, and they go all over Thailand, delivering the durians all over the place. And, but
Is there another way to prepare the durians?
usually you just eat them fresh. So you split them open and you eat it fresh. It's a fruit to eat fresh. Creamy and delicious. They're yummy. Some people don't like them though. Sometimes you got to develop a taste for them. But I first tried it at the Woodstock Fruit Festival, and it was okay. Other people were really loving it, so I just ate a little bit of it. But then more and more, I began to really like it. And then last year in Thailand, we were eating the best of the best, the Pumani variety, which was just incredibly good. Just now I just love them. So, but it's a little expensive to buy here. So
Would you know if it could be grown here in South Florida?
no, you can't. A lot of people have tried. You know, I was in the Rare Fruit and Vegetable Council for a long time when I had my property with all the fruit trees, and yeah, a lot of people tried to grow durian, and they just nobody can get it to fruit here.
Why
Nobody
is that
knows for sure why, but and then also mangosteen. Bill Whitman was able to get a couple mangosteens to fruit, but you know, normally the tree comes in heavy, but he was only able to get like a couple of fruit. So the two of the best fruits in the world, durian and mangosteen, they don't grow in Florida or anywhere in the U.S.
Is that indigenous to Thailand?
I'm pretty sure, but I'm not 100% on that. But Thailand is definitely the king of durian, but I'm not sure if it's indigenous to Thailand or not.
Can you buy it here without the shell?
Yes,
You can, yeah.
it's
You,
in the box.
yeah, you can buy it where
Mhm.
somebody else has already opened it.
But
Yeah.
it's better in the shell.
It's
Yeah,
better.
I
It's better if you
Mhm.
open it up. It'll be the
Yeah.
freshest if you open it up yourself. You can use a knife. I use my fingers. You try to find that certain seam, and then it splits right open. But you can just use a knife to open this. You know, open it up and cut it. You know, and so some people do that. But yeah, it's durians are great. Not too common. Most people never heard of them, but it's just an awesome fruit.
Could you compare them to jackfruit?
No, it's different. But jackfruit, like this one, I also got when I was in Davie at Food Town. I got a jackfruit.
Food Town, I love Food Town.
Different jackfruit's a little different. Yeah, Food Town has jackfruit for like that, 99 cents a pound, which is pretty good. Now the durian, they raised the price, but that's $6 a pound now. So durian's pretty expensive. So that's really a treat. But the jackfruit at 99 cents a pound, that's not too bad because probably, you know, a half of it, maybe a little less than half, is going to be actual fruit that you can eat. And so whenever I'm in Davie, I stop at Food Town. I usually get back to Davie about once a month, and I always go to Food Town and get a jackfruit. The last couple of times that I was in Davie, they were out of durian, so I didn't get any. But this time they had 2 left when I got there, so I grabbed one. And but it's different than jackfruit. It's just it's durian is creamier. It's more custardy like than jackfruit.
How much jackfruit could you eat if you didn't have durian?
Well, you know, we're fruitarians, so we can eat a lot of jackfruit.
And eat the whole thing.
Yeah, we can eat a lot.
But the one that you cook is the green. The
Right.
green jackfruit is different from the sweet, from the fruit they told me.
That's the young green ones. Yeah. That's what they usually use for the cooking. Yeah, this is fresh, you know, or ripe, or that one's pretty ripe. So we'll probably open that up tomorrow. Yeah, and that's your regular sweet jackfruit. Yeah, the green jackfruit they use for the imitation pulled pork type things. Yeah. So
Those are usually big and heavy. My friend Bob, he said, come over, I'll give you a jackfruit. And it was yay big. I said, well, just give me half. No, you have to take the whole thing. So I had to put the seat belt on it in my car. I rolled it into the garage. I had to cut it up, and it's very sticky.
Yeah, some varieties have a lot of latex, and you want to put oil on the knife.
Oil on the knife.
It's the largest tree-borne fruit in the world. So in Thailand, some of them get to 80 pounds. Here, you don't see that many that are that big, but
Wow.
they have some that are 40 or 50 pounds. When I used to have my property, I had one called the Cochin, and these were relatively small. They were about 12 pounds average. But I could pick those ripe, and you could just open them with your fingers, and hardly any latex at all. And it was super sweet, and that's the Cochin variety. So if we end up buying this house in Sarasota, that's the variety that I'm going to plant there, the Cochin. There's a lot of good varieties of jackfruit, and there's a lot of different ones, just like with mangoes and even durian. You know, most fruits have multiple different varieties, and they're, you know, there's different qualities to them that make them different. Like with mangoes, you have fiberless mangoes, which are what people like now, sweet and fiberless. And so same thing with jackfruit. There's a lot of different varieties. The seeds you can eat, you got to cook them, but you can boil the seeds, or there's different ways to cook them, but you have to cook them. And there's certain jackfruit varieties where there's hardly any fruit, but there's tons of seeds, and they grow those just for the seeds. The seeds are a little starchy. They're and they're good. You can make them into like a paste or something, or a dip. So we do that too sometimes. We'll cook the seeds.
Is that Mutiny on the Bounty where they were bringing jackfruits?
I don't know. Maybe. I never saw Mutiny on the Bounty.
Everybody knows, others know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, it's an old movie, right? Mutiny on the Bounty.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I never saw it, but yeah, but they might have had jackfruit. Yeah, because a lot of those pirates, things like that, they were down in the tropics.
It was breadfruit. Breadfruit.
Breadfruit. Yeah, breadfruit is. They're a little starchy too. They're smaller and round, real common in Jamaica.
Yum, yum.
They're kind of a semi, fruit vegetable. You cook those, and they're a little starchy. It's not a sweet fruit, the breadfruit. And they've done okay in South Florida, but they'll die at 45 degrees, and we haven't really had that since 2010. So I have a friend that has a breadfruit. She didn't even know that, so she planted a breadfruit, and she's getting tons of fruit. She has for the last few years. But if we do get a cold night of 45 or lower, it'll kill the tree.
All right, a lot of good information, a lot of good information. Anybody want to add anything about fruits and vegetables?
The durian, I bought durian years ago in a little plastic container. So I wanted to try because I heard stinky fruit, but tastes good. So I really have to say, I love the texture of the durian. It is unique and really, it melts on the tongue. But after I bought it and got in the car, I got out of the car very quickly, grabbed a few plastic bags, trying to really wrap it so, and I never took it in the house. I ate it on the porch because it stinks.
Yeah. And some stink more than others. Yeah, and it can be pretty bad. Yeah, that's why you can't take it into hotel rooms, subway.
Right.
Oh, I totally can see that.
Yeah.
It tastes good. You just have to overcome the smell.
What properties does it have that makes it smell like that?
I'm not sure. It could be sulfur, but I'm not sure. Mr. Google might know that. But
Yeah.
That's a good question, but I'm not sure. And some smell worse than others. When I was in Thailand in the retreat, we were outside, so the smell never really accumulated. But after the retreat, stayed there another almost a week, and we went to a resort island called Koh Chin, and Koh Chang. We bought one. I was there with some of the people from the retreat, and we bought it to eat the next day. So I put it in my room. We went out and did some stuff. And I came back to the room. I said, you know what? I think we're going to put this on the front porch. That's what I did. I put it on the front porch. And the next day we ate it. So the smell if you put it in a room, the smell starts to infiltrate the entire space. But it's
very dominant.
Yeah.
All right.
So that's it. So any other fruit questions I'd be happy to answer, but that's durian.
I'm sure you have a repertoire of other fruits that a lot of us may not have heard of or not familiar with. They heard of but didn't know much about. I would like to know a lot of this breadfruit, jackfruit, if you have to ripen them like a pineapple. I don't know much about it. I know they sell it. So, this would be very informative to people that don't know much about it.
Well, I also at Food Town, and just reminded me, I got some rambutan, so I'm gonna go get it.
Rambutan, yeah.
Mm, that's a good one.
Yep.
All exotic tropical fruits.
I bought a whole box because they had them.
Yeah,
They had them on sale.
rambutan.
$14, 5 pounds, but
And this is from where?
so these are. This is
Ah,
like a lychee inside.
That
So
looks so
it's
good.
white,
Ah.
translucent flesh with a single seed in the center, just like a lychee. And that's called rambutan.
Did you get those at Food Town also?
Good. They have this. They have this
The
whole.
box.
It's a 5 pound
That's
box,
food, right?
$14, which is less than
That's the
3
coolest market. It's like taking a trip all over the world because they have fruits and veggies from every culture. You get Indian, Chinese, all kinds of interesting.
yeah, they look good.
They have every culture. You know,
Every
the
culture.
teas, they have a whole aisle. It's a like used to be a regular big supermarket. There's a whole aisle just with Chinese teas. It's all in Chinese. It's not even in English, but the whole aisle, both sides, is just different, all the different types of teas. It's a cool market, yeah, for sure.
Is that in Davie?
That's in Davie. It's on the corner of Sterling Road and Davie Road.
Hmm.
It's on the, let's see, the northwest corner of Sterling and Davie Road, called Food Town, and it's a pretty neat market. It's
Oh, good.
all kinds of stuff in
Very
there,
neat.
and yeah. So
They do have another one somewhere, but I don't know exactly where that is.
you have more than one. Now there's one in Palm Beach, I know. But,
And the shopping carts are humongous. There's a million people in the store. It's a trip. You must go there just to experience it. I love it.
yeah,
This is in season here in South Florida. I think it's star fruit. Jamie, is this star fruit?
yeah, carambola, starfruit. Yeah. Those are
Yeah.
very prolific trees. Yeah,
Yeah, it's in season now. The trees are loaded with these.
but you don't want to eat too many of those at one sitting.
Why? I got a whole bag of them.
Dr. Greger did a video on that, and there's
Okay.
some kind of something in there that can be very irritating. So, and
Okay.
and you know, if you eat like a huge amount, like a fruitarian would typically do,
Right.
it can be fatal.
Oh,
So-
wow.
Oh,
But you guys eat one or two. You know, we're talking eating. You know,
How do you prepare them? It's new to me. I've heard of it before. How do you cut them up and eat them?
I usually just cut them into slices and eat them just like that. Because if you
Okay.
cut them into slices, you can get the seeds out. And
I got you.
that's all. I just cut them fresh and eat them like that.
Okay.
There's lots of varieties. Some are sweeter than others, but most of the ones that people grow are relatively sweet. But yeah, that's carambola or starfruit.
Mm.
and what happens if you eat too many?
You know, Dr. Greger did a video, but if you can eat enough where it's fatal,
Wow.
fatal.
Wow.
But that's, you know, for more like someone like me that would eat a lot.
That's a lot.
Well, you know, because we're fruitarians, so you know, sometimes for breakfast, if we have enough, you know, we might eat, you know, 5, 6, 8 mangoes. Well, probably not 8, but I could probably do that. You know, 5, 6, 7 mangoes in one sitting. You know, when I eat, I do a banana smoothie at lunchtime. It's usually about 12 bananas. So I eat a lot of fruit at one sitting. And so and carambola is like a subacid fruit, so it's not a sweet fruit. So I usually use those as snacks, not as a main meal fruit. You want your sweet fruits to be your main meal fruit. You know, like I was able to get a mamey sapote too, that we ate this morning, and so that's a high calorie dense fruit. And so
The mamey, yes. Mm.
yeah, mamey sapote, yeah. So yeah, because you know the most popular fruit in the world is mango, for the most part, and it's been scientifically proven that if you don't like mango, there's something wrong with you.
Mhm.
Oh.
Anyway, yeah. So so yeah, we can, you know, when the mangoes are in season, we can eat a lot of mango.
All
Oh,
right, thank you.
and boy, so yeah, with mamey, so in the Cuban community, Mango is not the number one fruit. Mamey sapote is the number one fruit in the Cuban
For
community.
me, yes.
So if you go down to where the Cubans are down Hialeah and all there, all the cafes are going to have mamey milkshakes. They use it for milkshakes a lot, but you're going to see that at pretty much any Cuban cafe you go to. There's going to be something mamey on the menu.
As a fruitarian, do you eat like a lot of avocados also?
No, not too much. Maybe half an avocado on a salad. Yeah, too much fat. So yeah, not too much of that. But we eat them almost every day. But just about half of an avocado each on the salad. And we eat big salad at dinner time typically. Because cooked food, we only do cooked food maybe once a week. That's only recent. We went months where we didn't do any cooked food, but then we decided to do cooked food once a week, which has happened on Sundays, and then now we shifted it to Saturday, but this was leftover. But breakfast is always.
I had a thought. I was thinking my chlorophyll, sometimes I don't put anything sweet in it. When I do my juicing, kale and whatever greens I can dump in there. I know it's very bitter, and I sometimes take the leaves off the trees to experiment a little bit. I know they're even more bitter, and some are probably poisonous, so you got to be really careful. But it seems like most people are very acidic, and I relate acidity or people's acidic bodies, which forms a lot of problems in people with sweet things, sugars and processed foods and meats, very acidic. And bitter things tend to be very alkaline. So I don't know if that holds true with most things that your mouth touches.
Well, the fruits are very alkalizing. That's why Dr. Moore puts people on 100%.
Well, they say they're very acidic, but when you consume them, they turn alkaline in your body.
Well, like citrus fruit, yeah, citrus
right.
is you have an alkaline ash, and that's what you're looking for. So almost all of your fruits are very alkalizing.
Right.
Yeah. And the greens too, but the fruits are more alkalizing.
But most people have a sweet tooth. They don't like bitter. We don't have a bitter taste in our mouth anymore.
We're frugivores by nature. We're closest to the apes, and the apes, they thrive mostly on a fruit diet. So,
but I think that bitterness of the chlorophyll of bitter fruits, really, I think it neutralizes, it balances your body sometimes when you need it.
Yeah.
To have a little bit of alkalinity in a food, and just to get used to that bitter taste or bittersweet taste, whatever the taste might be on your taste buds. So it's amazing. Your mouth is telling you what you should eat.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like all the people eating meat and stuff, they're getting accustomed to that. They learn as a child usually, but you get accustomed to eating a meat. But it's
well, they marinate it in sugar basically,
or whatever. They cook it with spice, whatever.
Yeah.
But
to make it more palatable.
We're talking about dogs and cats, or dogs, but dogs are typically considered to be omnivores, dogs and bears and stuff like that. A cat, whether it's a house cat or a lion or a tiger, a true carnivore, the way they eat, they'll hunt down something, they run after it, they're fast, they catch it, they kill it with their claws and their teeth, and they just tear it apart and they swallow chunks of meat, and they'll eat it all raw and they'll lick up the blood. So that's what carnivores do. Most humans don't do that. They buy some meat in the store and then they cook it and eat it. But if you're eating to your nature, then if you're a carnivore, then you catch something like a rabbit or whatever, tear it apart with your hands and eat it raw. But most people wouldn't do that. But a carnivore will also, if they find a carcass that's already starting to rot, a carnivore can just eat what's left, and they're fine with that too, because they have so much acid in their stomach and they're designed for that. If humans, a piece of meat, you're trying to eat a piece of meat and it's going bad, you're going to get really sick.
Yeah. But it seems like apes don't eat meat. They eat the leaves from the tree, and they constantly eat leaves and the twigs.
Well, they mostly eat fruit, but they do eat some greens too. And the gorillas eat more greens because they can't climb as high. So they end up having to eat more greens. But
it's amazing the strength they have. They're one of the strongest pound per pound animal on the earth.
Yeah. exactly.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's a fruitarian. He's an elite power lifter. And, he's in the top 5% of power lifters. Never picked up a weight until after he was fruitarian. So all of his weight gain, all of his strength gains,
Right.
as he moved into competitions, higher and higher levels, all came from eating fruit. There's plenty of protein in fruit. It's all we need.
Yeah, but I think you need a little balance with the minerals. There's also minerals you should raw earth minerals.
Your greens. You get your minerals mostly from the greens. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
I mean, when you say fruitarian, we don't just only eat fruit. You eat greens too, but the bulk of your calories comes from the fruit.
All right.
Yeah, that's all. But yeah, no, the greens are important. Sure. Absolutely.
I wanted to say something to the carnivores. True carnivores also eat vegetables. They eat the stomach with the stomach content of the prey, which is pre-digested, and now they can actually digest the remainder. So carnivores also eat vegetables pre-digested.
Right. Sure. Yeah, because they eat everything. Humans tend to eat the muscles of an animal. The carnivore eats everything: the liver, the heart, whatever. They eat it all. They just whatever's there, they eat it. In the stomach full of pre-digested food. They just eat all of that. That's what they thrive on. That's what they're designed for.
Yeah.
The dogs and bears and stuff, the bears eat lots of berries. They're out foraging, they're eating berries and all that stuff. And yeah, if they're in Alaska and it's easy to get the salmon, they eat that too. But they eat lots of the berries that are growing.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, dogs, you can put them on a vegan diet and they can be fine. But cats really you can't, because they just don't have the digestion for things like that. They can't, something fruit is way too much sugar for a carnivore. They're not designed for that.
Also, I heard that some, like foxes, they eat fruit that is on the ground, especially when it's a little bit fermented, like alcohol.
Mhm.
So some of the carnivores do have already some trend of eating some form of vegetable or fruit.
Right. Well, they can do some, but
Little.
Yeah, that their primary source of calories can't come from that. It's
Correct.
from dead animals in nature. They're
Yeah.
going to kill it, or they're going to scavenge a dead animal, and that's what they're going to thrive on. They can tolerate other things, just like humans can tolerate eating meat, but you're going to get heart disease or cancer and things like that down after decades of it. But yeah, we can tolerate it. A lot of people eat, horrible diet for a long time.
Long time.
Well, some people get their first heart attack when they're 49, but other people make it to 80 years old, but or later, but they're generally don't have a high level of vitality if you're not eating the foods that were designed for.
Yeah.
The idea is not to be 80, the idea is not to make it to 80 or 90. The idea is to be 80 or 90 and able to, run a little bit or, walk distances and make it up 4 or 5 flights of stairs without, not that being a problem. The idea is you want to have a lot of vitality as we age, and people that aren't eating the right foods. I mean, we have plenty of friends that we see that, they're 45, 50, 60 years old. And, the thought of going up 1 flight of stairs, it's going to be a struggle, and then the skin issues and, all that stuff. But, the human body is very tolerant, so you can abuse it, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. And that's when it starts showing up in 50s and 60s and 70s. I like the vitality route. I want to be strong, fit, and, feeling good for a long time. I'm only 58 yet now, and, I want to be feeling good for a long, long time. So
Do you feel you have more energy since you became a fruitarian?
Oh yeah, like way more. Like I was fruitarian a couple of years, and then I had all this energy, and then I went to the first Woodstock Fruit Festival, and Doug Graham was teaching a fitness class from 9 to 11:15 every morning. And so, in a hard, aggressive class, mostly young people that go to Woodstock in their 20s. But I did the class. And so in one of the classes that week, we ran a mile. And so haven't been a runner. I've never been a runner. And so, but I did it. It was part of the class. And of course, there was a lot of faster people, but I wasn't the slowest one in the class because some of these 25-year-olds, they're not runners and they didn't have the energy. But anyway, so I realized, okay, I can run. And then I had bought a road bike just to run errands, figure out if I got to go somewhere a mile or two away, I just take a bike. It's silly to drive. And then soon after that, I saw a couple of my friends posted on Facebook that they did the Escape to Miami triathlon. And I was like, oh man, triathlon, because I was feeling good, I knew I could run from going to Doug's class. And then, and I had the bike. So then I was at Jeff's at the table with some of my people that I know from my meetup group. And I mentioned about the triathlon, and one of my members asked me if I knew how to swim. And I said, well, never competitively, but I know how. And she says, well, I'm a swim instructor, right? I said, oh, and I didn't know that. So that's Lee Brennan. And so she gave me some lessons and I learned how to swim. And then I did some triathlons, and I never would have thought I would have the energy to do triathlons. But that's from eating the fruit. And Escape to Miami is a tough triathlon, man. It's not Ironman, but I'm talking about starting the sport in my 50s, never being a runner, a cyclist, or a swimmer. And so I was happy just to do the race. But it's a mile swim in Biscayne Bay, and then it's 25 miles on the bike with 8 bridge inclines up 195. They're big, they're big inclines. And there's 8 inclines, and this is also in September. It's hot. And then the run is 6.2 miles up 395. So you go up and down the bridge twice on the run. It is a tough race, and I did it twice.
Wow, congratulations.
Wow.
Again, I wasn't going to win the race. I knew that because because some of these people coming in from running backgrounds, and they're still doing 7.5, 8-minute miles. And, I'm just not even going to get close to that. But being able to do the race and cross the finish line without being timed out, because you can't be too slow or you reach a limit. And so the fact that I was just able to do the race was great. And it's really from the fruit diet. If I was eating vegan diet, but not the fruit, I don't know if I could have done it. So I've been mostly fruit for 7 years now. So it's been a long time. And, again, we do eat cooked food sometimes, tofu, but that's not my major source of calories. So anyway, I was just going to start vegetarian, and now we've been talking for. But anyway, as long as you guys are interested.
Go with the flow. This is a beautiful flow.
Because when I'm in person with people, I usually only keep talking when they're asking questions. And we're going back and forth because I'm careful not to be the only one talking, and people are like, when is this guy going to shut up? And so when I'm out in person, when people are asking questions, then I keep going. So anyway,
All good.
All good. Thank you both, Ann and Jamie. That was,
right.
You can always expect very interesting information from you.
Yeah.
Exotic fruits, foods, diets, all that good stuff. Okay, how about if we take a 5-minute break? Is everybody okay with that? And we'll be back in 5?
Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
guys.
Yes.
See you in a few minutes. All right, welcome back, everybody. And moving right along with today's program is a show and tell surprise from Chef Estella, who's going to present a recipe of some sort. I can't wait to hear. Here you go.
All right, thank you. Say unmute myself. I think that I'm okay.
You're doing fine.
Okay, good. So here I'm going to, this is the best time of the year to be happy. We all want to have treats, share the screen. Can you please give me access to
Yes.
share the screen?
Yes.
here I have these almond flour cookies that I made today. Real fast, they are all raw. And I just use the almond flour, and with molasses. And so it just turned out great. It's a nice snack that is not very sweet. And Jeff, especially for this time, he always liked to have a treat. So I said, well, I'm going to make this one for the week. I think that they have 2 or 3 left.
Okay.
So with almond flour, I think that you know that in the United States they don't allow any raw almond flours. The raw almonds come from Italy, used to come from Italy. So they are all blanched. But this is the best that we can get. And I just bought the flour, it's blanched almond. And then I just, very simple, in a bowl, I just mix the almond flour with the molasses. And so here is a nice treat, and it's not very sweet. And as I say, this is the time of the year that we want to be happy, and we feel that we want to start having sweeter treats. And this is something that I think that is going to be great for children also too. And as I say, I'm trying to see what children are in the neighborhood. I have 2 families with younger children, and I will go and offer them. So this is a time to be different. Halloween reminds me of Carnival in Argentina. We don't have this Halloween festivity in Argentina. But in Carnival, during Carnival, so you are different, you dress up in the same way that you do it for Halloween. And it's a lot of fun at that time. So that reminds me about Carnival time. You dress up, you are different, you go to different places to dance. So here it's a little bit different, but so when I came to the United States, when I moved to the United States, I was 32 years old. And for me, it was like, oh, wow, this is great, Halloween. So I felt just like a child. So I can say that I started celebrating Halloween when I was 32 years old, because that was when I moved to the United States. So a new festivity for me. So this is what I want to share with you. And if you have any question, or if you want to share what is your favorite treat now for this time of the year. Yes, any questions or comments?
It looks great. That's why I know Jeff only stopped himself from eating the whole thing.
Right.
Low sugar, I think that it is very important. So that's why that he likes molasses, so I bought molasses. Molasses has only 9 grams of sugar, and it's pure and it's organic and unsulfur. So it is great for a treat like this.
I couldn't believe how good these cookies were with just 2 ingredients. It was like,
Yes.
Is that what you were eating before when I asked you?
Yep. And we consider ourselves pretty disciplined, not like addicted to sugar and this and that, but I basically have trouble getting enough calories every day. Eating a lot of vegetables and a lot of very bland grains. And when we started with some molasses recently, it's just incredible what a fantastic treat that is.
Get some.
Simple and just quick to make. That is the most important part. Do you want to share what is your favorite treat?
Or what is your favorite trick?
Or
My
treat-
favorite trick used to be getting a quarter when I was trick-or-treating. There were some neighbors, many of them would give you a nickel. That was like, hey, that's all you're going to get, kid. It's not a penny. But there were some who gave quarters in my block, in my neighborhood in Brooklyn. And, one time I changed costume and went back to that house. I wanted to get it
Another
done.
nickel?
Huh? No, it was a quarter.
Oh.
So I wasn't sure if they would recognize me,
Oh, that's funny.
I mean, don't report me to the police, okay?
Right.
This was a nice sweet treat that I was enjoying. It's it's hard to focus this.
You're like the invisible man, Reggie.
Yeah. It's made out of oat milk. It's from Aldi's.
Was it ice cream?
Yeah, it's an ice cream, vegan ice cream.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And strawberries, really nice. Made out of oat milk.
oat milk, yes.
Yeah.
What other ingredient it has? Any other coconut or? No.
What were the ingredients in there, Reggie?
I didn't see. I just saw it. It was fairly cheap. I know other vegan ice creams are very expensive. But yeah, it's got quite a few on there. It's kind of dark here. It's hard to see.
Oh,
No,
I'll-
but it's made with
I
oat
gotta
milk.
get some light, and it's so tiny. I gotta get a magnifying glass. I can barely
Yeah.
read it.
You don't need all the ingredients.
Yeah, it's not a lot. I agree. The less
Yeah.
ingredients, the better.
will this help?
Yeah.
Yeah. How do I do this? What app do I need to shove this in there?
Use the phone and then, open it up. I wanted to ask you, Estella, did you find organic molasses?
Yes, I found in Whole Food.
Okay.
Organic molasses, yes, and sulfur. Yes, in Whole Food.
Okay.
And what's on the outside of it, Estella?
It's just the almond flour. That they are just almond that these are blanched because I bought them, but you can make at home. You buy almonds and then you just use the blender and you process them and then you make flour. Yes, you can make your own flour from almonds. They are all almonds, just almond. The white is just the almond flour. Yes.
Yeah,
Incredible.
Sorry?
Yes.
yeah. I mean, you can even make like with mixed nuts. For example, you can use almond flour and make your own almond flour, and use other nuts like different pecans would be probably good, or cashews. So I think they can be mixed, but it's a great recipe because it's so simple. But I would like to ask if everybody doesn't mind, what molasses are made out of. What is in molasses? Like, what is it actually? I've never had it. I know that it can be used as a sweetener, but does anybody know what it's made out of?
It's just pure sugar cane. I'm going to
Oh,
bring
okay.
it so you can, yeah, it's pure sugar cane. It is like brown sugar made like a
Probably comes from the asses of moles. Only one laugh.
It's the dark syrup that's a byproduct of making sugar.
I see. Okay.
organic molasses, okay? Organic molasses is no GMO verified, unsulfured, okay? So it's organic black strap molasses. And yeah, molasses is from sugarcane, directly from sugarcane. So it has only total sugar, it's only have 10 grams and no added sugars. So it is a great sweetener and it's not expensive. So we find that one, you know, and then the almond flour, this is the one that I had. It's blanched. Okay, oh, so that's it. As I said, this, if you buy, you are going to find everything blanched. Okay, so they are not really raw. But you can buy the almonds, and as the, I don't know what is your name that is said, any nuts. Now, if you are allergic to nuts, then you can have raw oats. You put the raw oats in the blender and you make flour. And from there, you can make treats or you can make milk for the people who are allergic to nuts. And so it's something to consider. Most of the children now, they are allergic to nuts, and especially peanuts. They cannot eat any of that. So this is going into a new world of toxicity that they have. So yes. So it is a great sweetener. It's only 10 grams organic molasses and it's sugar cane. Yes. And it is in a very good price in Whole Food Wholesome. And just a little bit, it's fine. I don't put a lot. Yes, that is great. So this is what I learned from raw food. Things are easier, and you can make that. Also, you can make this different type of flours that are gluten-free. The raw oats, you can, then also the buckwheat. Are you familiar with the buckwheat? Buckwheat is just a grain that is gluten-free. You soak, and then the next day I just dehydrate it, and after I dehydrate it, if you want to make flour, you just put in the Vitamix, and you have that. I will show you how it looks like.
Does everybody want to see a little more of that movie? Vegan 2019?
Buckwheat already dehydrated, and you can use this one. It's gluten-free, and you can use it as a granola, see? And if you want to make flour, now that is dehydrated and so dehydrated, then you put it in the Vitamix, and then you make flour.
What does the
Buckwheat,
buckwheat, right?
buckwheat. They are gluten-free. Has nothing to do with wheat, yes. Mhm.
I just saw a video today of Chef AJ, and instead of doing oatmeal, which is all the oatmeal flakes, she's doing oat groats, which is the whole oat, and cook them. So it might, and it makes sense to me because when you get old-fashioned oats, it's like nothing. So it might be a good idea to make flour if you want to use oats. Do it from the oat groats.
Well, I just bought them and I never done from that. And it's pretty hard. So it will have to be dehydrated also too. I'll try, of course, I'll try. But raw oats, in general, they are not quick oats. Quick oats are cooked, but raw oats, they are considered to be the best oats for now. So, but yeah, the other are, it's very hard. I bought them in there and
Steel
I'll try to see after I soak them how they turn and if they can really, make them into raw. I don't know about that, but yeah, it's always good to try.
We'll find out. They probably sprout also.
Sure, yes, they are sprouting.
A new thing to try.
Nothing to try, yes.
So what's this movie, Jeff?
Yes, okay, so that's.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Estella. Thank you
Yeah.
for your presentation and your recipe and suggestions, information. Okay. As we move right along, yeah, we had shown last week the 2019 movie, parts of it, and we're going to show that now. Okay.
These issues were addressed by some who, on the one hand, explained how vegan options are at least more efficient and less intentionally harmful than their meat-based counterparts, while others push for further progress and more holistic ways of thinking. One increasingly persuasive option was vegan permaculture, the organic production of crops causing minimal harm to animals and the environment.
So vegan products are in many ways a fantastic sign of progress, but when they're wrapped in plastic, sprayed with pesticides or using animal fertilizers, they still don't represent the solution to a lot of the destruction that is happening to our natural environment. What vegan permaculture does is try to think quite sort of aspirationally about what could we achieve as a civilization if we really try and think about that whole big picture. If we think about how to mimic nature, how to create habitats, how to enrich our soils. So that's what's so exciting about vegan permaculture and its growth at the moment, because it really represents that next step in a sort of paradigm shift that we are going to have to go through if we want to take care of the earth more effectively.
Our survival is entirely dependent on nature. We use it for our fuel, for our food. It sustains us. We're not disconnected from it. This enormous edifice of life, this cathedral of biodiversity, cannot be replaced. You can rebuild Notre Dame Cathedral and it will look pretty much like the one that's there before. You cut this wood down, you cannot rebuild it by sticking in a few saplings. It's just an enormous act of ecological vandalism at a time when we really should know better. I mean, it's like a light's gone on in one part of our brain telling us that there's a climate and environment emergency and we've all got to make changes to cope with this, to address this issue, but we haven't yet turned the other one off, which tells us that we've got to make the short-term progress. Someone please turn that old light off so that we can bathe in the brightness of a new vision of a better future for ourselves and the planet, like now, maybe.
Wow.
Stop talking.
See beauty in the natural world. That is the primary source. We see lovely flowers, butterflies, birds, animals of all kinds. Birds, whales, gibbons, spiders. If we are to ensure the prosperity of the human race, we have to understand the natural world. We have to appreciate the natural world.
We've been obsessed with protein for the past 70 years. Heart disease has gone this way. Diabetes has gone this way. We're only getting sicker. We're only getting fatter. Obesity is now a $2 trillion problem. We don't, listen, protein is not the problem. Fiber is the problem. We're not eating enough fiber. So the strongest animals on the planet are all vegan. Rhinos, elephants, gorillas, hippos.
As awareness grew around the health benefits of plant-based diets, mainstream medical establishments started to change recommendations.
There's been a lot of speculation lately about what's in Canada's new food guide. Well, now we know.
Canada removed dairy from its new food guide at the beginning of the year.
It's actually the first time around this guide was based on science. All previous guides had invited the food industry to have seats at tables, to have votes at tables, and to have closed-door meetings.
The Canadian food guide showed that without industry influencing recommendations, an important shift towards plant-based diets in the mainstream could take hold.
And in 40 years of research, we've been able to show that simple lifestyle changes can undo or reverse the progression of the most common chronic diseases, diabetes being one.
Diabetes, cancer, autoimmune issues. Not only do we not need animal products, but they're actually not good for us.
There's more and more evidence coming out showing that animal protein is inflammatory. It causes chronic inflammation. It causes oxidative stress.
The new understanding of the pathophysiology is so profound in 2019. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people use every dollar they have, every social media outlet they have, every way to manipulate the public mind to hang on. It's just like smoking. They're going to hang on, but they're going to fall off the ship.
Some of our leading killers can be reversed. For example, heart disease, the #1 killer of men and women. Arteries can be opened, heart disease reversed without drugs, without surgery, just a healthy enough diet centered around whole plant foods. There's only one diet that's ever been proven to reverse heart disease in the majority of patients, a plant-based diet.
But in the face of increasing awareness, veganism faced a new antagonist in 2019, the growing carnivore movement.
There's a swath of people right now that are eating nothing but red meat.
Sean, what would you call this diet that you're on?
Mostly red meat.
6'5", 52 years old.
Actually, one more. Yeah, that was. But we need to aggressively push back in a very organized and well thought out manner.
Fuck vegans! Fuck veganism.
I think it's time now to get aggressive.
We see it every time, vegan mental illness.
It's time to, really push the issue, really push back on these people hard.
A selfie with plant-based use.
It's time to tell these people they are not right. We're not going to fall for their tyranny, their fascism. So we need to stop accepting their framework. We need to have our own narrative, and we need to push back.
But as these radical counterculture carnists took to the streets promoting raw meat as food, they forced people to confront a simple truth, that meat eating in whatever form has profound consequences. And once we know about these consequences, it makes us question what we'd rather not know.
Bacon is back on the menu.
As far as we know, there have been 5 major extinction events on our planet. Events caused by changes so severe that many species simply can't adapt and, as such, die out. Right now, we are in the midst of the Earth's 6th mass extinction.
While the impending climate crisis quickly became a topic of public discussion in the mainstream, a few figureheads emerged. One of these was 16-year-old Greta Thunberg.
We are in the midst of the 6th mass extinction, and the extinction rate is up to 10,000 times faster than what is considered normal. with up to 200 species becoming extinct every single day.
For way too long, the politicians and the people in power have gotten away with not doing anything to fight the climate crisis.
Even most climate scientists or green politicians keep on flying around the world, eating meat and dairy.
People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you!
Thunberg, who ditched meat, dairy and flying to reduce her carbon footprint, captured public imagination, becoming not only an environmental voice, but also a pop culture icon, appearing on magazine covers and winning awards for her ferocious criticism of politicians.
So what do you think, what has Greta got that politicians don't have?
Well, first of all, she's speaking not only to the young people, but she's speaking to everybody, including she's speaking to the politicians, because she says the way it is, which is, hey, you're not keeping your promises, you keep talking and you go from one meeting to the next meeting and you're signing all kinds of certificates and laws and this and that, and you're making a big to do about something, but there's no action.
And since our time is running out, we have decided to take action. We have started to clean up your mess, and we will not stop until we are done.
So that's what she's saying, and I think that people woke up and they said, I mean, they listened to her, they said, yeah, there's no action. It's getting worse. You know, the heat is increasing, you know, sea levels are rising, people are dying because of pollution, water pollution, air pollution, all this stuff, and people are angry about it. So I think they're listening, and I think that she has really caught on a certain vacuum that was there, you know, that kind of rattled the cage and woke everybody up.
Schwarzenegger himself was becoming increasingly visible in the debate around eating meat and its impact on the environment and human health. And following in the footsteps of his Less Meat, Less Heat campaign with James Cameron, Schwarzenegger became involved in 2019's highly anticipated plant-based documentary, The Game Changers, as an executive producer.
I ate a lot of meat. They showed us commercials. Steak, that's what a man eats. Selling that idea that real men eat meat. But you got to understand, that's marketing.
When I made the switch to a plant-based diet, I qualified for my third Olympic team. I broke 2 American records. I was like, man, I should have done this a long while ago.
When I went plant-based, I wasn't sure if I was going to survive. And I actually became like a machine.
I think this is going to wake a lot of people up.
Today's blood and yesterday's blood.
Yeah.
We all want to feel great, have more energy.
Most guys my age can keep up with the grandchildren. My grandchildren can't keep up with me.
Someone asked me, how could you get as strong as an ox without eating any meat? And my answer was, have you ever seen an ox eating meat?
The impact of this film was not to be underestimated.
You know what? I will watch this documentary.
The meat-eating ways of a handful of Broncos burned by Netflix documentary The Game Changers, challenging the idea muscles are built by eating meat.
Do a bit of plant-based food instead of the meat all the time.
After the film was released, an important shift took hold.
I eventually started cutting out dairy, started feeling a lot better, then started cutting out meat because I never really liked it. And then the more I kind of cut things out, the better I started feeling.
The floodgates opened, with more and more people speaking out about plant-based diets, including professional bodybuilder Kai Green and 4-time Tour de France champion Chris Froome. The female 2019 blank world record holder announced she was powered by plants, and celebrities including Kim Kardashian and comedian Russell Brand announced they had ditched animal products.
I'm vegan.
Among others who also spoke out, including rock star Bryan Adams, social media star Casey Neistat, comedian Ramesh Ranganathan, F1 champion Lewis Hamilton, megastar musician Billie Eilish, actors Jerome Flynn and Joaquin Phoenix, as well as Coldplay star Chris Martin.
The fact that we
are encouraged to think about where our meat comes from and how much we consume can only be a good thing for us, for animals, and for the planet.
I started because I related to animals when I was a kid, and then later I learned about the environmental impact of animal farming. And I learned that the biggest thing I could do to have an impact on the planet's health was to become vegan.
Even World Wrestling Entertainment used the rise of veganism to appear more on trend by molding stars into militant vegan characters.
These people harm the earth every single day with their needless consumption. Every single day they drink their plastic water bottles. Every single day they eat their factory farmed meat, which emits methane into the atmosphere, which causes permanent change to the climate.
But there were some even stranger events in 2019, because as positive support grew, so did opposition. For example, the animal agriculture industry said their products were good for the environment.
Sheep are almost the ultimate in renewable technology.
Despite the science supporting the opposing viewpoint.
There were 2 studies released last year. The first was the most comprehensive study that ever looked at the relationship between farming and the environment. It looked at 119 countries and 40,000 farms, and it revealed that the vegan diet or vegan lifestyle is the single biggest way that we can live that reduces our impact. The second study was the most comprehensive study ever conducted between food and the environment. They said that in this country, in the UK, not America, but in the UK, we have to reduce our pork, our beef, and our lamb consumption by 90% to avoid meeting that 2 degrees Celsius threshold rise that would be catastrophic.
Free-range meat has a far greater environmental impact even than the very high impact of indoor meat production.
Anyone who feels any shred of responsibility towards the younger generations really has to look at the impact that their habits are having. The single biggest step we can take as individuals to improve the climate is to ditch meat and dairy.
In the face of increasing environmental awareness, meat and dairy brands tried to thwart the growth of plant-based producers, calling for legislation banning them from using traditional animal food names. They claimed consumers were confused by products like almond milk or vegan burgers, despite data showing this was not the case.
This is an imaginary crisis. No one is mistaking a veggie burger for meat. What's really going on is that producers are afraid of the new competition.
The animal agriculture industry in Australia wanted to ditch the word slaughter when referring to the livestock industry, instead choosing to use the word process because of the emotional connotations that they claimed were associated with words such as slaughter. As one meat boss put it, the word slaughter is not appropriate for our industry as we are processing animals through the various stages that end up for food. But the meat industry failed to realize something that was becoming very clear. As veganism cemented itself in popular culture and the economy, there was nothing that could be done to halt the changing tide. And anything meat industry representatives tried to do only made them look desperate.
What our legislation does is clearly says that what is on the label is what the product is. So if you want to have a burger, and as long as you know that it is plant-based, that's fine, but you can't call it a meat burger when it's not meat. And all we're saying is that the label must conform to the identity of the food product.
And is the purpose here to protect consumers, or is it to prevent competition? Because I must tell you, having eaten a vegan meal this week, which was delicious, I can understand why the status quo, the meat industry, would be very, very nervous about what's coming.
Veganism was breaking growth and sales records all over the world. The 2019 Veganuary campaign saw hundreds of thousands of people sign up, and the vegan food and beverage market grew in response to the burgeoning demand.
We heard about Veganuary. This is an all-year-round thing now.
Oh, absolutely. It's gone past the stage of being a fad. It really is massive. It's been following a decent level of growth over the last 30 years. I mean, in the last 2 years alone, there's been a 700% increase in people that have been following a plant-based diet.
I went vegan, it was about 6 or 7 years ago, and it wasn't popular. Now it's become, you know, like a trendy thing to do. And a lot of cafes and restaurants are catering for dairy-free, gluten-free, vegan options. And so it's actually quite easy me now.
So it is a very popular search on Google these days. What is a vegan?
I do see veganism being normalized, and it is flipping. But once it flips, veganism will be normalized, and then people will just eat veganism. They'll eat vegan, and they won't think of it as vegan. It's just food.
In the last 4 years.
Okay, that was great. I thought. Anybody want to comment on today's presentation?
I noticed they mentioned in the beginning to eat more fiber. And when I was doing the juice in the beginning, I went to a few seminars. They say you really need the fiber because when you juice, you eliminate the fiber. Then I got studying a little bit in terms of there's different types of fiber. There's soluble fiber and insoluble fiber. Maybe there's another fiber. So I'm thinking, do we need the insoluble fiber? I think in the juice, there's probably some fiber there. It's probably more soluble, stuff you don't need to digest. I think the soluble fiber is something that you have to your body has to work at and to get the nutrients from the food. So I'm just curious, how much fiber does one really need in their diet? Did you guys hear me?
Jeff, unmute yourself.
A lot. You know, I think they discovered now roughly 300 types of fiber, and much more than we used to think, you know. But one of the most important things about fibers is that they are prebiotics. They feed the hundreds, maybe thousands of biome residents that you've got. And that could be one of their most important functions. Even if it was just that one function, not your stool being solidified or anything, that would make it, that would justify it, because your biome is basically your second brain. It's the bulk of your immune system, and on and on and on. So don't underestimate the fiber. It
seems like it would be the minerals, your essence, the periodic table, the essence of what you are, and then it's energized through the electricity or the sun energy, energized into consciousness, into us. So it's interesting. I also have been studying breatharianism, where people eat very little food, and they sun gaze, or they ground themselves to the earth, and they present themselves more like a plant, which really doesn't consume food, yet it absorbs it through the air, through the soil, and it's interesting. You can also get nutrition that way. So it's fascinating to me.
Well, you know, it seems like we're on a roll here. And, you know, technically we're like 12 minutes over time. And this brings up the question of how valuable is this time to us? If we want to go over an hour, let's say, should we? You know, should we like take a vote and say, let's go on and on and on? Or how do you want to work this, folks?
Well, I think it all depends on everybody's flexibility and their commitments for the rest of the evening and what they have to do or eat, or put the kids to sleep if anybody has kids, or attend to things, or if they're motivated to stay on another, few minutes or so.
Or taking care of the dog, you know.
That's what I was going to say.
Feed the dog, and sure.
Well, you know, I have a presentation, but I saved myself for last because I just want to be, I want to be the one that can carry it on very easily if we ever want to run overtime. Today I put out my e-newsletter. Did everyone get a copy? Did anyone read their copy yet? So anyway, it'll be out there. It's in your mailbox. It's a solo operation right now. It's all on me, and yet I feel really, really good about it because I had some inspiration about making changes to the format of this email. You can get a copy of it on our Facebook page. I can put a link here and you could go read it later on. But I'm really, really excited because it's like many other things in this vegan advocacy, vegan education business. You kind of establish a norm and a pattern, and that's like normal. And after a while, it almost gets boring or just humdrum. You know what I mean? So producing a newsletter 131 times can almost get boring. But trust me, just like discovering a new recipe that's going to become part of your daily routine that you love more than anything, that's better and more delicious and more available. It's the same with this whole vegan movement. It's like putty in our hands and like plastic, what I used to call plastic in the sense of Big Brother and the Holding Company, the plastic fantastic lover, the plastic fantastic mythos, the plastic fantastic values. But I'll tell you what, why don't we leave on a high note and be sure to come back next week with, more expectations. Expect, if you think we had a good time tonight, then in the back of your mind think, could it actually be better next week? And I'm saying it often is. And bring a friend.
I want to thank everybody for spending their valuable time with us and participating and contributing and eating at the same time, if that's what you did. I'm going to prepare my meal in a few minutes when I'm all through. So I hope you all enjoy your evening. Enjoy the rest of Sunday night. Have a great week. And we look forward to joining with you the next time you're able to join with us. So that's what I have to say for this evening. And everyone have a good one. It was a pleasure speaking with everyone and hearing from everyone. And we'll talk to you soon.
Peace and love, baby.
Yes, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Everybody.